Hey guys, it's kenziefrenzy and I'm back with another video. So today I decided to create a little street of houses. So I like to think it's just like a little street in a random suburban town where there's just 4 houses on the same lot. Basically, that's just what I created. So I wanted to make them all look very different and individual from each other. I didn't want them to be too uniform because I wanted them to each have personality and kind of showcase the personalities of the people that live there. So I gave personalities to each and every single one of the houses, which I will explain once I get started. Here I am just adjusting the roofs of the houses because it was quite difficult. I was debating whether or not I wanted them to have little overhangs over the porches or not. So I gave that to one of them, the second one, and I think that is it in the end for the amount that I gave the overhangs to, but I actually ended up really liking the way that these houses turned out in the end. I made that one house have that little almost octagon type of shape, which I think was really cool and a nice contrast from the other ones. And yeah, I can start explaining the personalities for each of the houses once I get inside. I also gave them each a backyard with a nice fence, but I ended up making it a lot smaller than I originally did because there was just so much extra space in the backyard that was not needed whatsoever. So for the first house on the left, I went with like a beige kind of dorm quality type of like a dorm house type of thing. So I said that there were 2 or 3 frat boys that would live inside of this house, and I wanted to give them a lot of like old, worn down furniture and appliances, because I know as a soon-to-be university student we have a solid like $5 in our bank account and we can't really afford to redo all of the counters in our house. So I gave them like those old counters, old fridge, and old stove from City Living, I believe, and I gave them a nice little island so that they can do all their cooking, or I guess like Postmates and DoorDash. And yeah, so I also wanted to make their house very party-esque vibe, more so than like put together. So I gave them a lot of furniture that looks like it was maybe like given to them. It's been in that house for a while. It's old. It looks like couches that are literally from dorm rooms. I give them a nice table for them to have all their friends over and eat at. Everything is kind of like beige and like basic, but they like to spice it up with their bubble blower and their good old dartboard. So yeah, I tried to make this house look kind of cheap, but not too cheap at the same time. Like, it's still an expensive house just because of the area that it is. It's kind of big, there's 3 bedrooms, but it's not nice enough that a student couldn't afford it, if you get what I mean. And I said that there were 3 frat boys in here, so I added like a little ping pong table for maybe if they were gonna play like beer pong or juice pong or whatever it is in The Sims. I also gave them each a bedroom, and I wanted to focus on like different colors and different personalities for each of the bedrooms. So I have a red one, a blue one, and a green one. And I said that each of the boys had to have a study room, so I gave them a little desk in each of the rooms, just so they had their own individual spaces. But I tried not to make this house look too expensive and unrealistic. Because recently I've been looking at a lot of houses for students, and I know that they're all just like rooms slapped into a house. Like, they're not overly nice. They're kind of just there, and that's all that we really need right now and as a university student. So that's really the vibe I went with. So for the second house, I said that they were a newlywed couple, maybe like a teacher and a fireman, and they have a baby on the way. I said maybe they might have a dog, but that wasn't necessarily put in stone yet, so I hadn't quite decided if I wanted them to have a dog. I believe that they just moved into this house. Like, they just bought it, they just moved in, so they haven't really put in a ton of their own furniture, and as of right now they kind of have it looking like a newlywed couple house rather than a house for a baby. I do have a baby room, but I do assume that once the baby arrives, the house is going to look much more destroyed and maybe like colored on the walls and have crayons all over the place, but I haven't quite included that yet into that house. So there I was, just finishing it up. I'm changing the fences so that they're smaller, so that the backyards make more sense. And I'm moving on to, sorry about the little recording thing in the bottom, I noticed that soon enough and I fix it, but it is still kind of annoying that it's there for right now. But anyways, I'm moving on to the third house. I said this was like a single mom with 2 twin girls, which I think it ended up being like my favorite house of the 4, actually. It kind of suited my style because I wanted it to be a nice house. I didn't want to think oh, single mom probably doesn't have any money. I didn't want to fall into that type of like stereotype. So I went with a more like nice house. I picture this mom having quite a bit of money. She's a vet. She has a job for herself that does pay quite well. So I end up moving this whole living room somewhere else, and I didn't really like the sectional in the end, so I just changed that entirely. I also give them a little wall with a couch and a painting right by the stairs to kind of cover up the stairs and make it look a little nicer. But yeah, I end up moving a lot of things around, and I think I really enjoy the way that ends up looking. For this one, I used like the Parenthood appliances and cupboards, and I really am happy that I did this. I love the island that I put in the middle of their kitchen. I think it's so fun. I love the exposed shelving. I think it's super fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed this house actually. But so now I'm just adding some more clutter to the kitchen, making it look more family based. I picture this mom having like her girls over for wine nights every single day, or like every day on the weekends. The twin daughters have like their friends over for sleepovers all the time, so their house is pretty clean and collective. Yeah, so this single mother has 2 twin daughters, and I picture them not being necessarily polar opposites, but liking different things. So I have one that's like more girly and into music, and like kind of like me, I guess. Like I based her room basically around what I would want my room to be, because I'm pretty girly and I love music as well. And then for the other sister, I made her more sporty, gave her like a blue room rather than a white one, and yeah, I love what I did with this TV here. I added some bookshelves and a fireplace just to make it look like it's a little, like, what's, like a section? It's not a sectional, I can't remember the word, but like a little place where the TV is supposed to be. I can't think of the word right now, but yeah, so here I am just adding even more clutter, adding some paintings. The downstairs is actually one of my favorite things. This is exactly what I want my house to look like. Yeah, so I'm adding some more clutter with the coat rack and the shoes, and a little dresser and a mirror at the front door. But yes, everything's very pristine and white, and I picture them keeping this house very clean, and that the mother does not like it when there's any sort of clutter all over the rooms and stuff. So yeah, here's their little entryway to their bedrooms, little hallway. I ended up just not putting anything in the hallway. I tried to put some chairs in, but it just looked very cluttered, and I didn't really enjoy it in the end, so I move a lot of things around. Alright, so here I am getting started on the bedrooms. I gave the music daughter bedroom a nice like background of that kind of tree thing. I've never used that wallpaper before, but it worked really well in this room, I think, at least. Gave her a piano, a nice carpet, and I give her a desk as well because I want them to have somewhere to study. Lots of paintings of music related activities, some jazz musicians. I went with like a white and purple theme for her room. And yeah, so here I am just making that look really nice, and I end up switching the piano with the desk. Yeah, there it is right there. And then I move on to the more sporty daughter's room. I tried to use that Seasons bed in literally every single house, and it just would not fit the vibe that I wanted for any of them. But I picture the mom of this house kind of designing the rooms and getting the girls matching beds, and then the girls were like, I kind of want to have my own personality, so I'm going to get different comforters and different colors and different pillows. So I think over time, their rooms kind of started to look a lot different from each other, but originally the mother wanted them to have the same kind of room, and I think that's really nice. And I feel like every mom, I don't know if it's just my mom, but every mom has like a brown colored room. It might just be my mom, but that's just what I went for with this room here. I thought it was really nice. I gave her a little nook in her room for her to relax when she wants to get away from the kids, and also just a bathroom off of the master. Yeah, so this is like the end of that house interior. Yeah, so then the next house is actually for, I picture like a cute little old lady who loves planting, has a cat. So that was very much the aesthetic I went for. She kind of reminds me of my own grandma. My own grandma's favorite color is pink. She loves it. She loves flowers. She comes over to my house constantly and puts flowers in my gardens, and she's such a cute little lady. She has a cat as well, but in this case, this lady does not have a husband. I haven't quite decided what happened to the husband. Maybe she just never got married, maybe she got divorced, maybe he passed away. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to go with, but whatever it is, she is happy living by herself. She is not a grouchy old lady. She has her grandchildren over all the time, but she doesn't really have a room for them. They gotta just sleep on the couch, but that's fine. She loves to have people over at her house and share her lovely little single lady's house with everybody. So yeah, I picture her having like the fluffiest cat in the whole wide world, like a big fluffy cat. Not like I have a cat and he's just like an orange and white cat. He isn't super fluffy. I picture her having like a literal floof. So here I am loading up on flowers. I picture her being a flower arranger, actually. I think she is retired from her job as like a secretary that she did pretty well as her entire life, but she realized she really wanted to focus on her plants while she was in retirement. So that's exactly what she did. So I gave her some flower arranging stuff. I put plants literally all over her backyard. And so yeah, I gave her like the blue, I guess 50s, 60s inspired appliances. I think she's had them since the 50s and 60s. I don't think she's really changed anything. Also with this house, all the other houses I went with like an open concept, because that's kind of what now more houses that are modern are super open concept, but I put this one very closed concept because I pictured it being an older house and she would rather it be closed concept than open concept, because that's just who she is. Here I am struggling to put this TV on the fireplace. It definitely is floating, but it'll have to do. Putting some old furniture, a lot of old furniture in this house, but I think it's cute. It's from her last house. She's very happy with it. She loves the design of this house. It embodies her more than it did her last house when she shared with her husband. This is her new house when she's a single lady. Lots of old wallpapers and literally things that I picture in my grandma's house. So I really based this lady around my own grandmother. Her husband is still living, but I did picture like the pinks and the flowers and the cat around my grandmother. I do have a lot of blue in this house as well. That was just because of the appliances, and I wanted things to still be kind of uniform within the house. So I really liked the way that ended up turning out. I also told myself at the beginning of this like challenge, I guess, that I would give each of them a patio. I ended up giving the single mother like a pool and a hot tub. I give the newlywed couple just swings and a kiddie pool. I give the frat boys the basketball hoop and a ping pong table, and for the older lady I load up on flower arrangement stuff and the little bee catcher. I don't know what it's called, little bee catcher thing. Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way that these houses ended up turning out. I'm very proud of each of them. This took me a ton of time, and I'm super happy with the end result. So I will be bringing you guys to the screenshots soon enough, but I'm just finishing up the older lady's house. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed this build as much as I did. I had a blast making each of these houses be super individualized, and I'm very happy with how they all turned out. So I hope you enjoyed these screenshots.